Hi everyone, my name is Rina Hellström, the founder of Agile HR Community. Welcome to watch our 2021 Spring Agile HR Community Meetup. We're discussing the Agile and HR transformation going on at the Lego Group and the Lego HR team. Our guest is Thomas Moeller Lybaek, HR Process Innovation Director for Lego. Thomas has several master's degrees in international business and has been working as a transformation leader throughout his career. Right now, Thomas is working on a large-scale program around people operations globally at Lego. He will share learnings from the ongoing prioritization, business focus, coordination, and the trade-offs when we work with global programs and global people operations development. As we were eager to start, we forgot to start the recording during the introductions. So our recording starts where Thomas is actually introducing Lego as a company. Sorry, Thomas. We hope you enjoy learning with Agile HR Community and Thomas from Lego. We are delivering transformation support and training, and we're always practical, hands-on, focusing, building the lasting behavioral change and organizational change. Take a cup of tea, coffee, and sit down and learn with me and Thomas.
Today, as I said, we are still a family-owned business. We have more than 18,000 employees working in 130 plus countries. We have 5 major hubs. So Billund in Denmark is where we were founded. It's our headquarters. But we have you can say a hub strategy. So we have hubs in London, in Enfield in Connecticut, in Singapore, and also in Shanghai, where we are locating, you can say, both research development, some IT, HR for those functions. We have 5 production sites, and we are very happy for that, because during COVID, our production in China was closed down, and later on also our production in Mexico was closed down, but we still had both Hungary and the Czech Republic and Denmark for production. And we also have a vast number of brand retail stores that we operate ourselves. So if we look at our population today, with the 18,000, about half of them work in blue-collar work in factories or in our frontline in our brand retail store, and the rest, you can say, a huge amount of that is in our R&D and in our IT and our back offices. So when we are talking about Lego, it's not a uniform workforce that we're looking into. We're looking into a very diverse workforce. So that's basically it. I mean, if we can just put a few words on how we are coping with COVID, I think the relevance of Lego and playing and connecting kids, families, but also to a large extent also now adults, is really coming to the forefront again. We've had, fortunately, a tremendous first year, growing double-digit both in turnover, but also on EBIT. And we are looking into this latter part here also on continuing that journey. And we are looking into more adults and more teenagers actually finding the inspiration in Lego. So I think we are in a very, very fortunate position compared to a lot of other companies. And also then, of course, being family owned and having generated, as you alluded to, Rina, the past 10 years, really great results, brings us in a position where we are not dependent on short-term actions. We are not having, you can say, the pressure of a stock market demanding results all the time. And the family, you can say, has a vision going towards our 100th year anniversary in 2032, where they have some huge plans and some huge ambitions that they really want to transcend throughout the business.
Fantastic to hear that. I mean, who can say that you've got a 100-year kind of background in a family-owned business? That's an amazing asset for you to develop the organization as well.
So if I just speak a little bit into the context of the presentation here. So back around the turn of 2001, 2, and 3, we were in really dire straits. So we had huge losses. And I wouldn't say we were going bankrupt, but we had a transformation ahead of us. So throughout 03, 04, 05, we did a huge transformation. So we had a diverse portfolio. We then focused that and invested all of the surplus cash in new products, in partnerships with Warner Brothers, with Disney, and all sorts of things to really build, you can say, credibility and huge assets on that piece. That continued until about 2017, 2018, and then we flattened out a little bit, both on the EBIT growth and also on revenue growth. And that marked then, okay, a revisit of our operating model. Let's look at how are we organized? Have we grown too fast? Have our processes been sanded out so that it's not working too well? We had a transition of a new CEO coming in and the old one stepping up as chairman of the board, and a new strategy or strategic priorities were formed. And that sort of has been in place since 2018. So it's a strategic period, and this looks, I mean, if in the agile world, having a horizon of about 4 years is a really long time. So the strategic priorities we have been pursuing since 2018, and we will revisit in 2021 the next, you can say, 5-year plan. It sounds very old-fashioned, but we have the, you can say, the long lens on this. And it's about getting back into being an innovator in terms of our product portfolio. It's about taking control of how our brand is exposed, how we sell, both in terms of our physical stores, but also online. It's about expanding into new places in Latin America and Africa and Asia. We just opened up sales offices in India this year. Tremendous opportunities that we have for expansion still. And then it's all about how are we doing all of our enablers? So how are we doing all the back end stuff? How are we actually making sure that we have a foundation for going into the future? And that sort of led to, on the right side, the digital roadmap. So really saying, okay, we needed to invest I wouldn't say double digit, but close to double digit billions of Danish kroner into digitizing our entire business, not just the back end system, HR, procurement, finance, and so forth, but also how we digitize product development, our new products, and so forth. So that is sort of the backdrop of what we're going to talk about here on our modernization journey. So taking that a notch down into HR and into what we call P&D, our people operations and development. In 2018, you can say the ambition and was also set by Lauren, which we can say formulated as HR really driving the KPIs of architecting leadership, culture, talent, and organization at the Lego Group. And together with the leadership team, flesh that out into a number of priorities. So we want really to be, by 2022, recognized as a top 10 company worldwide to work for. We want our employee surveys to place us in the top. We want core capabilities within HR at a robust level, so really skilling up our colleagues. We want to make sure that on the talent side, that the ones that we deem to be top talents, that we retain as many of them as possible. And following off that, we also want to ensure that I wouldn't say have succession planning. I think we aspire to having succession planning in place, but we want to ensure that we have an adequate leadership bench. We also wanted to work on say shared services or the transactional piece about automating, outsourcing those areas. We wanted to have data structures and quality in place. And then on top of that, getting, you can say, a whole new HR system in place, cloud-based. So the modernization journey was not just about systems, it was processes, policies, talent, and culture that we wanted to address all at once. And given that Lego is the company that it is, ambitions were extremely high, and people, they were flying off in all different sort of directions once they read into this, because you can read a lot into these headlines here. So the way that planning is actually taking place is that this is sort of the backbone that we are working towards for achieving by 2022. And then each year the leadership team in HR are taking stock of where the business is developing, where the business is growing, what challenges is the business actually facing, and then you can say devising 1-year plans, so that by end of this year we will have what will be the plans that we will take into and work on for next year. So we have a compass going forward, and then each year we are adjusting a little bit on where we want to go, and then on top of that, within a given year, we look at, okay, are we going to change some of the priorities giving some of the things that are going on.
A couple of things which are very, very interesting, I think, from an agile HR perspective. The first one is, if we kind of stop here for a while, if you look at the digital roadmap, sometimes HR, we cannot be just focused on our own digital roadmap. Because we look at what sits here, it there says product development starts to go digital, product innovation starts to go digital, supply chain is looking probably into automation and AI solutions. All of that brings a lots and lots of expectations on us as well. So we need to kind of fly the plane at the same time while we're redesigning the plane as well. Yeah. And we need to help others fly their plane while they are redesigning the plane. So we have a kind of meta role there. Talent, we need to get new talent. We need to do the capability build. We need to sort out who might not be suitable for management positions anymore, and where do we find leaders who are capable of leading these digital skills in a self-organized team, for example, the servant leader types. Can you talk about that a bit? Because we need to kind of serve the organization while we're transforming ourselves as well.
Yes. and you can say that's really the biggest challenge, is about having certain areas that are really leapfrogging ahead of the rest. So we have our 2,000 people who work with product development. So figuring out the next play experience, the next Lego set that's going to hit the stores in 2 years' time from now, and this year as well. And they are creative minds, and they are off there on where they want to go and how they can integrate things and how we can start playing in a hybrid way, with both having, say, digitized our product development, but also have to have the physical play experience there. So they are already out on the edges. Then we have our digital group, which is in a huge transformation, introducing Agile, have been working with Agile the past 2 years, but still have, you can say, all of the legacy stuff that, so they want to go into Agile, but they have a lot of legacy, and they cannot really cut the ties there. So they are also stepping up. And then as you say, okay, how are we then from HR supporting that direction? How are we supporting the leadership there? And to be fair, I think we've done, my old boss would say, a piss poor job at actually doing that. Because we've had to educate ourselves on what is Agile. We've had to insert HR at the leadership table and really understand what is the direction going to be. So one of the first things that Lauren did back in 2018, when all of this was started and he came into play as CHRO, was really on how can we step up on the HR capabilities.
Yeah.
So really designing, okay, what would be the few things that all in HR needed to understand to be able to talk with the business and support the business best possible.
This is just kind of commenting on that. This is the one key thing that I'm hearing from the companies that are succeeding in transformation, either on the HR side or supporting the business, is that HR teams have been upskilled in their capabilities before the actual wave of transformation comes. So they can prepare the kind of grounds for that transformation. They can start getting talent into the organization half a year before it's needed, building that leadership pipeline half a year before it's needed. You know, I was working in a transformation in a global company where it took 4 months to get a Scrum Master profile created in the HR system. 4 months. We can't wait for 4 months to recruit a Scrum Master. So we had to find a way how to write something, project manager, Scrum Master as their title, because the business is going. If we're not helping them, they're just going. They're not waiting for HR.
Yeah, exactly. And I think what happens then if HR is not capable of keeping up to speed and sometimes being just one step ahead, but having to catch up all the time, is that the business will devise their own solutions.
Exactly.
So they will go off and develop what they need right now. So we have and it's a perfect example. We are working on introducing Workday, which is slated for go live mid of next year. But we also cannot stop the business right now. And they are just moving ahead. So in our production, they need a system to keep track of the frontline skills. So what machines are they able to operate? Have they been trained in that, and so forth? We cannot supply that system or that capability until a year from now. So we're just saying, okay, that's fine. Go ahead and do it, devise it, you own it until we come up with something better. But we won't stop you. We can guide you, and we can try to, from, you can say, process platform point of view, point into what direction we are aiming in a year's time, and see if we can agree on sort of the framework. But we are setting them free to actually do what they need to do to keep the ship afloat and keep it in the right direction.
And I think this is a very key thing. I mean, just as a learning, not from Lego, but just as learning, if we're not delivering practices, processes, concepts, and services that the business finds valuable, they're going to go outside our HR to find those valuable ways of working and software and tools which will help them generate the value that they need. So I think this is super important. And what you're saying there is to prioritize, not saying no if that's something critical that they need. They're going to do it anyway, but then collaborate and co-create in how we can do this in a way where we migrate later on to another platform.
And I think that is the for me, and also I think for HR at Lego is really a learning point in how we can support and what we want to stop and what we can allow. And I think the management team, which is also fairly new, having some of them having been there 2 or 3 years, it's still fairly new, and they are still also maturing in understanding what is agile. So when we talk about what is agile for HR, just agreeing that there is something called a minimum viable product, and we agree to actually testing things out, and we might not get 100%, we might only get 60%. Let's go out and test it. I think that is something that is from Lego culture, the way we're used to doing business. That is so new a concept that they're really struggling. So when it's good enough to actually launch, because there is the culture at Lego, which has been cultivating for the past close to 100 years, is really about only the good is good enough. So it is really about pursuing perfection, and that has been the mindset for many years, and it has also been, you know, say, hampering our creativity, at least within, you can say, back office functions.
And this is maybe also, I think, with one of the misconceptions of Agile is that we're just doing something which is good enough. No, we're choosing where to put effort, where to create those amazing best products, because they great value, and we're choosing to do the 60% or 80% where the value is good enough, but adding working up to 100% would just take so much effort that effort is better used somewhere else, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So it's not a rule that we need to do something which isn't good. It's a rule that we need to prioritize and decide where we put our effort, right?
Yeah, both that, and also I think the mindset that you would find in, you can say, in typical production companies, where you talk about Kanban, you talk about lean, you talk about continuous improvement. I think the whole concept of launching something, knowing that it is not perfect, but that we will continue to improve on it, and get feedback, because we can sit in our ivory tower and devise the best solutions that we can think of, and then once we launch it, I mean, the problems have been solved already, or the business has moved on. So it's better to get something out there and then start using it and getting the feedback, and then having the resources to actually continuously develop on that. So going into a continuous development kind of mode is a new practice, I think. And
there's a saying that I think HR can learn from, which you just kind of discussed and explained, is that no product survives its first contact with the client.
Oh, that's an old military saying from Clausewitz.
Is it? Okay,
yes.
That's a thing that I like to kind of keep in mind. So anytime you're releasing something, there's going to be problems. So why not get those bigger problems out of the way very early, and then launch something as you go. Let's move forward to this picture.
Yeah, so basically you can say last year the HR leadership team put in a bucket list of key things they want to prioritize. And this list that you see here is actually representing, so the high level, what is that we wanted to achieve this year. Then in March, you can say COVID hit us. We closed down in Asia, with China factory being closed down, also the closed down our factory in Mexico and many other countries being under lockdown, offices being closed. So what the leadership team then took on them was to approach the priorities from okay, let's look at what the business needs and adapt both the initial priorities, get in some new ones if we need to, and then deprioritize other things. So for instance, we had an ambition this year to execute what we call a not responsible but responsible workplace with universal leave, with general insurance for our employees, diversity and inclusion. And we had to adapt that, both in light of COVID, but also in light of what was happening sparked by Black Lives Matter in the US, the whole discussions about equality and so forth. So we had to speed up some of the things that we had originally planned. We did away with our yearly merit adjustment. So we are, you can say, doing from next year a flat increase at a certain level for all employees, and then leaving a larger sum of money to the leaders to do either spot bonuses to, you can say, reward and recognize things that are happening right now, either on a one-off or on a more continuous basis. So that's something that we just introduced. We have what we call Leadership Playground, which is our culture project that we are still continuing with. We downplayed our own capability development, what we call Power Up, so the reskilling and upskilling of people partners and so forth. We also played down on our talent management and leadership development and said, okay, we cannot send everybody off to workshops and do what we had plans in that area. We need to take that down a notch. Continue to deliver on the business. So whenever, let's say, our retail side, they decided to go into a new country, open up, we needed to, of course, be able to support that. We also needed to bringing a new piece, which is on supporting the COVID-19 responses. So both in terms of health and safety, but also in terms of all the admin pieces of sending people home on furlough in some countries and bringing them back. How are we opening up? How are we working from home? So we don't have a working from home policy right now. We have some ideas where we want to go, and we will have probably a policy in place by end of the year. But those kind of areas we worked heavily on. We continued on our you can say Workday vChare area, which is key foundation. We did an additional effort in safeguarding, you can say, our operating model, making sure that we could deliver and really secure the strong delivery model between what is done in our shared service centers, what is done with the managers, what is done in HR. So it was about continuously adapting, reprioritizing on based on what is developing, and that is definitely something new to us, and does require a change of mindset and I wouldn't say an appetite, but still a curiosity into embracing what is uncertain and being able to actually be in an uncomfortable place where you don't have certainty. And I think that is you can say, from a leadership trait, that is something that we're really working on, making sure that that we have a safe place and creating a safe place where we don't criticize each other for making decisions, because we cannot predict what is going to happen.
That's true. Thank you for sharing this. This is a very good example of portfolio management. So you've got a lot of stuff sitting in your portfolio. There might be strategic initiatives. There might be must-dos from a HR perspective. There might be maintenance on the processes or the tools or the background operations. There might be some new development. So that all that sits in the HR portfolio, right? And what happened during this year was that we just needed to prioritize. And this is what we talk about portfolio management. A couple of interesting points when we talk about portfolio management is that given the circumstances, it's a bit different because COVID is truly kind of setting up us in a very fast-paced portfolio prioritization. Usually what we see in HR when we set up these portfolios is that the prioritization happens every quarter to give people at least a quarter or a couple of quarters of visibility and transparency into what is agreed and what should be done. So can you talk about the prioritization frequency. What have you noticed during this year, and what would be the normal frequency for you?
So you could say if we take last year as sort of what was prior to COVID hitting us, then you would have your, I mean, as I said, you had the strategic 2022 planning and priorities, and then you would break that down into yearly initiatives, some of them carrying over from year to year. And you can say those yearly priorities might on a quarterly basis be revisited, and we might reshuffle some of the resources, but we wouldn't necessarily take in new initiatives throughout a year.
Right.
And then if we speed forward to this year, our leadership team meets on a monthly basis, sometimes bi-monthly, to go through this. And a key issue is on what's the, you can say, return to work situation like, what offices are open, what factories are open or closed, and how are we working on that.
Right.
How are we reshuffling the activities? So that's more on a monthly basis actually throughout this year, because we've seen that some of the areas are really driving. Our digital channel has exploded, so people are buying most of the stuff online because shops have been closed, and that meant that we needed to, in our digital business unit, reshuffle resources away from, you can say, non-value adding projects into new projects, and we needed to do some hirings and some reshuffling of the talents to actually speed up that development, and that of course needed our support on
think about this also from a capability build point of view for a HR leadership team. What COVID has basically taught you is that you can start prioritizing your portfolio on a more regular basis, on a more frequent basis, generating value where that value needs to be created. And you can also, when we work with portfolio, there are a couple of things that we usually set up. The first one is, what are the prioritization drivers? So right now you mentioned prioritization drivers for you in this situation was where stores are closed and what this situation is with COVID, etc. When COVID is done, you're going to move into other prioritization drivers, probably business value and what needs to be maintained to keep on a long life cycle costs or something like that. So we always talk about what are the prioritization, what is the funnel, if you may, to make sure that what comes out of that funnel will be done. The other thing which I kind of heard there is I'd be interested in hearing about the transparency, because the only way, and this is kind of the agile value of transparency, the only way you can have teams that are adapting their own operations, their own ways of working and their own value delivery towards what is prioritized is that they have transparency into the portfolio. Yeah. They know immediately what has changed. They know immediately where they should not waste time on anymore, where they should put effort on. So can you talk about that transparency a bit?
Yeah. So each month, the executive leadership team in all of Lego, they meet and they talk about results and they talk about priorities and so forth. And that then transcends into, you can say, the HR leadership team meeting. And we have, I think it's on a three weekly basis, or at least once a month, a call with all of HR where the leadership team are both introducing what is happening in the wider aspects of Lego, where is it moving well, what areas are struggling, and what has that led to in terms of either reprioritizing, deprioritizing, or getting new aspects in. So on a frequent basis, that is being communicated at least once a month, following the leadership team meetings, what is happening and if we have any reprioritization.
Brilliant. So that's kind of an all hands meeting where everybody are here.
It's an all hand meeting, and if there's something that you can say takes place in between that, then you can say Yammer is widely used at Lego, and everybody from our CHRO is using that and to address and to post whatever new topics are coming on board. So there's quite a lot of transparency on that piece, and I think Lego fortunately has a culture where we do have, you can say, a safe place to speak up if there's anything that we are in doubt about or if we have any questions, and we expect to be met with, and we also get, you can say not the constructive answers. Okay, this is the way we're going. It's not like you're getting a hammer in your head if you start asking questions. So I think that is a very fortunate aspect of our culture, is really respecting everybody.
Let's move on to discussing this one slide.
Yeah.
I love this slide, and it is just kind of crystallizing the agile mindset also in HR. Can you talk about this?
Yeah, so my role is new. So there wasn't an HR process innovation role prior to my joining Lego last year, and there was of course a job description, but it was very much up to me and the stakeholders that I'm working with and my leader to really define what is this actually going to be like. And where we are landing it right now, a year down the line, is really it's about for me to explore, develop, and link whatever opportunities that we see internally. So if we have one of our business units that are developing something that is really nice or great, make sure that everybody knows about that, and that maybe it's something that we need to work into some of the projects that we have ongoing. Maybe it's something that we need to just bring up and just share. Okay. We did a fantastic presentation or did a fantastic workshop on whatever, but also looking at all of the external opportunities that are. And I must say, since I started Lego, I mean, my LinkedIn box has been flooding with business development people pushing all sorts of ideas to me, startups wanting to pitch their great ideas, and some of the stuff is really great. Some of this is okay, maybe not so great. So my role is really to mix and make sure that our HR CEOs and our digital and our business services or our shared services, they understand what is going on and they see the opportunities, and then respect really the culture that Lego is. So Lego has really a strong base of being consensus driven. So coming up with, you can say, huge spikes and something that is radically different from what we have done. I think we need to chew the elephant in really small pieces sometimes to really make sure that we get success. So my job is really, I mean, as an entry point for new ideas, not just on tech, but in all sorts of aspects. And then to challenge and facilitate the processes where people get used to new ideas and see how that might work in their area. Keep in mind of who our constituents are. So we have, as I said early, very diverse workforce, not just in terms of culture and countries that we're represented in, but also in terms of people who work in front of their laptops all the time, people who work in front of customers all the time and don't have access to a laptop. So all sorts of people, and then my leader is truly amazing, and given my background, she sort of uses me as an internal term, consulting Swiss knife. So whenever there's something that she says, okay, this is an uncertain area, Thomas, go ahead and look at that, try to see if you can bring some discipline or some structure to whatever kind of problem that we're facing there. So I'm being thrown into a lot of different topics, which is for me really, really motivating and really, really exciting, and brings me around in the business to a large extent.
Brilliant. So what I'm hearing here is that you are creating a safe space, and you're one of the kind of facilitators of the innovation, facilitators of how we can take steps continuously toward a modern HR, but not forcing and not doing those spiky things. Maybe you've got, maybe you're coming to a maturity level where that's allowed, the experimentation and just trying something out is starting to be allowed as well. But what I really like about that is respecting what already exists and what's been done well, and not saying that, or we need to change and everything we do is wrong, but how to gently and in a coaching way help people along the way and invite them on the journey. So,
yeah, and you can say, I mean, when I talk to our head of rewards, he has 15 years of experience in rewards and benefits. He knows his shit to a level that I will never achieve. So for me, it is about having a dialogue with him and maybe introducing some new ideas. But he knows, and he also knows what works. And ultimately, he is the owner of the new policy or the new process. So I can only nudge him a little bit, but he decides or she decides where to go and if we do it and when we do it.
Fantastic. Awesome. Thank you very much, Thomas. What an amazing example you have talked about today. What I just said to Thomas that, I mean, just having the Lego slides and the colors and this picture, the brand here, we could write anything that is very boring and it gives energy to the presentation. But this presentation has been very energetic. We are about 5 minutes before time, so we don't have time for more than maybe 1 or 2 questions. Can you please, if you write a question in the chat box, we have one question. How do you align the HR portfolio with the development project portfolio of the rest of the company? So let's talk about that quickly, Thomas, with you. What do you think? How are we aligning with the business portfolio?
So you say the business also have a number of strategic priorities that is within this 5-year horizon. And we have, with our Ulrich model of HR, been embedded with the leadership teams in the business. So we understand what is the strategy and what are the strategic priorities for the coming years and for a coming period. And that is being brought into the HR leadership team. So you can say if you go back a slide or two to the funnel, just one more slide. So deliver on the Plan 2022 initiatives. So within each of the business areas, they have their own, you can say, translated the strategic plan down to their priorities. And that is then being, you can say, asked or intertwined with HR, saying, so how can we support our commercial expansion in Latin America or in India? What can we do on that piece? And typically we would know, you can say, the initiatives 3-6 months ahead of them actually starting to get in place. Some of them we would know probably 12 months ahead. But yeah, we're knowing and we're getting entwined because we are linked into the leadership teams and strategy processes in the business. Fantastic.
Thank you very much for that answer. I can just kind of pitch in with how we build portfolios for companies is that we've got different streams. We've got the, might be strategic streams, we might have the business streams. So the business initiatives and projects that are coming up where HR is very much needed are managed in a stream of portfolio. And we look around the whole portfolio and basically people and resources we have. So where can we add value? Where should we add value? Where should we get somebody from outside to help on those initiatives if they are a must do? So it helps us bring the transparency and the prioritization across the whole portfolio. Awesome. Now, thank you so much. We don't have time for more questions. I hope that this has been valuable for you. It's been a lovely talk for me, at least. I've been learning a lot. One of the insights that I got was how you are working with that digital roadmap with all of those digital parts in one. So it's not like you have the silos talking about a digital marketing strategy, a digital product development strategy, but you actually approach the digital as a whole capability build. And that was I really like that.
Yeah, you can say, I mean, what we're looking into and what was just a few months ago, you can say, active formulated was that Lego as a company is developing from being, you can say, a toy company to actually being a digital company. It's not that we're going to be the next Google or Apple or whatever, but we need to really look at thoroughly digitizing our products, the experience that customers have with us when they interact with our brand and so forth. And that is the next 5 years is really going to be the most important project, and that spans across the entire business.
Love it. Just love it. So let's look at what we have here, insights. Aligning continuous with prioritization drive, the simplicity of the strategic priorities. Prioritization is mentioned quite a lot. The systemic importance of Thomas's role. So you are kind of a systemic catalyst there. It's lovely. We are also seeing value-oriented initiatives and developed on the go. HR needs to be ahead of the organization or the business, will devise their own solution. Yes. I loved hearing about your role. Time boxing meetings, start on time and having that as a principle of working. Nice that we are actually time boxed very soon. So we're going to say goodbye in a minute. So awesome. Thank you very much, everybody online. Lovely to have you on board. Yeah. Go and check out the book and go and check out our homepage for the upcoming events. What we want to do is generate a community where we are generating professional level, agile, organization development, management development, and HR knowledge, and also training and in-house training. If your team is interested in capability build, get in touch.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
To say thank you very much, Rena, for having me on board. I just put my email on the chat box if anyone wants to reach out. So thanks and have a great day.
Awesome, Thomas. Thank you so much for being with us.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.